So when you look at Ethan Peck's Spock, but they have taken Spock from this very, very calm, collected, sometimes sardonic, and they turned him into kind of like an angsty
whiny
incel. The Hunt for Gollum.
Oh, yeah, that's an absolutely useless. I mean, that might even be more useless than Colbert's whatever the film is going to be named, and you're just left heartbroken because this beautiful story, these ideas, these iconic moments that you grew up with are now shattered and wrecked.
Alright, Earthlings, and welcome back to the Thundering Dice channel with your boys, the Thundering Dice Brothers, and you've all heard the sad news. Star Trek Academy has been canceled, which actually does mean, for the first time in a long time, there is no Star Trek in production or in planning or being filmed right now at all. For the first time in decades, guys, so that got us to thinking, is that actually possibly a good thing, number one? And two, my gosh, we have so many sequels, prequels, made-up-quels coming out in our beloved fantasy worlds that we're kind of sick of it too. So we're going to go through a bunch of reasons why we need to stop flogging dead IPs and come up with something fresh. At least give us a break.
Yes, absolutely. Star Trek Academy is a very good place to start. Now, to caveat this, I will defend the parts of Season 1 I have watched. We have not completed yet Season 1, so if you're waiting for our reaction video to that, stay tuned a little bit longer, because we still kind of got to, catch up. But
we have lives to live, unfortunately.
Yes, unfortunately, dear viewers, you are not the soul of our universe.
We wish that you were, though.
Yes, subscribe and like and, give us money on Patreon, and maybe we will be. But going back to Academy, beyond the fact that it's a school and no one cares about a school, and the Starfleet Academy is just sort of like it's a nebulous idea for a story, having it canceled to me is a good thing because I want new stories. I don't want to have... Star Trek as a universe is brilliant, and there are many more stories a lot of talented writers could come up with.
It is a universe, after all. It doesn't have to be Kirk-centric.
Yes, exactly. You could go onto any other ones. I mean, since Strange New Worlds decided to have fun with the Gorn, you could just make a whole new show about the Gorn. Go to the Gorn homeworld, show us their society, show us why.
They already kind of ruined the Gorn, though.
They did.
The Gorn are these, super freaky lizard things that, lay their eggs inside of you, and it's way overblown and terrifying.
Yeah. Okay. No. Yeah. They absolutely did ruin the Gorn. But
it could be any other. It could
go
be
to the Tellarites. You could just make someone. Yeah. You could just make a character up and be like, oh yeah, by the way, we've heard about the Federation. They're far, far away, but we're kind of like this small little enclave of this desperate society of multiple planets that are just far enough away that Starfleet has never found us. So we maybe we'll send a message, but we'll just chill out in our own universe and figure out our own stuff. And you can just create a story through that. Or, if you want to be really rebellious and actually use 2 brain cells, why don't you create a whole new story? Not Star Trek, something new. Not Battlestar Galactica, something new. Not Star Wars, something new. New! I don't know how many times I have to fucking say it, but it's not that difficult to come up with something new. I mean, The Expanse was new. It was fucking brilliant. I am struggling to think of any other...
For better or worse, near future sci-fi stuff is generally kind of new and fresh. It's kind of fun. The Martian was a great, fun movie. It should never have won the Academy Award for Best Comedy. That's laughable, but not in a good way. But there's good sci-fi out there, and there's good way in the future. Stargate was pretty fun too, and that was unique. At one point, Star Trek was unique as well, and that's the big problem here. Beyond just our emotional attachment to the characters and places and things that we love, that we feel like are getting bastardized, there are good, solid reasons to point out that, in fact, they're ruining these characters. We have this emotional attachment to them, so we're going to view them through a lens of our sort of lived experiences as kids growing up and watching them. So when we see something new and different, it may take us a moment to adjust to it, but some stuff isn't really adjustable. So when you look at Ethan Peck's Spock, nothing against Ethan Peck as an actor, and nothing against his portrayal of Spock, but they have taken Spock from this very, very calm, collected, sometimes sardonic, not 100% emotionless, but,
very controlled.
Exactly, just calm in all situations. and they turned him into kind of like an angsty
Whiny
incel.
Yeah, like
it's so disappointing. He's like the personification of male loneliness on this ship. And I don't understand why they did him so dirty.
Well, it's because they want to, explore Spock's tender side and, the cute...
But that's not why people were attracted to the character of Spock, at least... Not why I was.
Oh, no, yeah, I totally agree.
The Nurse Chapel thing was a weird, like, comic, not comic, it was a very serious aside where it was like, oh gosh, well, this is a challenge that he deals with, but it's one episode and it's a small part of an episode and they make a whole huge thing about it and then they have a whole literal song and dance routine about her breaking up with him. It's so fucking painful to watch.
Yeah, no, it definitely is.
And that's just one character that I have a problem with, New Trek. Like, how about Uhura?
Okay, fine. Since you go there, I'm going to have to, really quickly fill this in. All right, so Uhura starts in TOS as a normal communications officer. She's obviously, she's on the bridge of the Enterprise, so she's very qualified. She knows her shit. But she isn't like an intergalactic level genius who suddenly knows a million languages and can decipher every type of language, even though it's 100% alien and there's no common frame of reference in a second. So she starts as a normal person, 100% relatable, and relatable to a whole fucking ethnic group in America. Then flash forward to an undiscovered country when she has to use books and the rest of the bridge crew to decipher and talk to the Klingon outpost to make sure that they can slip by the Klingon defenses so they can rescue Kirk and McCoy, who are trapped on Rurapente. Now, compare that to Strange New Worlds Uhura, who knows 30-something languages, can decipher a language, a musical language, in less than an episode, to such a degree that she's able to alter its trajectory so it doesn't smash onto a planet. But she also actually kind of ends up committing genocide. No one really says about this because that whole planet gets showered with so much water, and that planet doesn't have enough water that everything is just going to get washed away. That's an aside. But you take Uhura from a normal person to a super genius in 50 years, 60 years, and it just ruins her.
Unbelievable. Yeah. All right, so let's move it on because we spent too much time on Star Trek. Not even Star Trek Academy. They've been canceled.
Yeah.
Oh, dear. Let's move on. We've got some Lord of the Rings BS coming out that perplexes. Perplexes and disturbs me.
I know Colbert is going to have some time on his hands. He decided to tango with the wrong side of the political aisle and gets shit canned for it. That being said, I don't want the new Lord of the Rings story that he and his son are going to write. No one cares about the lost chapters in book 1 from the 3 is a Conspiracy to the Barrow Downs. Like, seriously. It's not going to even make sense because you're going to be so fucking confused because the movie is going to take place in the first movie when they're going to have to splice something from the first movie in to make like a continuity.
And are they going to get the
same
the 4 hobbits? Like, I guess makeup is a hell of a thing, but Sean Astin is a bit older than all of them. He always was, so it's more obvious now. So that'd be weird. I don't know. Oh, okay. First of all, it doesn't add anything to the first movie. Like, there's a good reason not to include it in the film. It's not necessary. Even in the book, it's not necessary. It's cool fantasy world stuff. But to the entire overarching the story, we don't need it.
The Barrow Down blade is very necessary.
The blade is, but you can think of any number of different ways that didn't include
this
entire thing.
You can introduce that blade other ways.
The conspiracy was kind of neat, though.
Yeah, I do like that.
They could definitely have, they did Fatty Bulger bad. Wrong. Because he was totally involved in the conspiracy to get them out of the Shire. So he's another example of the stoutness of hobbits that should not be overlooked. But that's still not a thing that needed to be told, I don't think. So once again, isn't this just a case of we are running out of our time frame to hold on to the rights to these parts of the intellectual property of the Lord of the Rings that we already have, so let's make something quick?
It certainly sounds that way, because, no fan is going to, whatever Colbert comes up with, no fan is going to split that movie into the Fellowship of the Ring and expect that story to still work out the same way, because he's just like, oh yeah, by the way, Elijah Wood, he's back, he's 30 years older, but it will freaking work in your mind, because you just have to accept it. It'll be great.
It'll be great. Yeah,
so yeah, that's
so beyond, without having a ton more details about it, other than a super fan who is Colbert along with Peter Jackson are going to be making it, that's all fine and good, but once again, we're beating a dead horse IP. We don't need it, except that they needed to keep their rights going. Speaking of which, I guess this is another, casualty of this, the hunt for Gollum.
Oh, yeah, that's an absolutely useless... I mean, that might even be more useless than Colbert's whatever the film is going to be named, because, I mean, like, the hunt for Gollum, you're talking about a 20-year time span where it's mostly Aragorn, with Gandalf for a decent portion of it, searching the wild for Gollum. I mean, like, that is that is all there is. And this whole movie is based on a small conversation that doesn't even take place in the Lord of the Rings proper. It takes place in the Unfinished Tales, if I remember, when Gandalf is talking to the hobbits over a pipe around a table and be like, yeah, you know what, I'm going to give you the deets that you don't understand. So this is what happened with the hunt for Gollum. 3 sentences later, Aragorn finds Gollum. Like, there is no movie there. You're going to have to create so many things to make this movie even a semblance of a story.
A little bit like Mad Max, Hunt for Gollum kind of stuff,
What are they going to do? Like, have Aragorn fight a buttload of orcs? Because no, there weren't a shitload of orcs just rampaging around Middle Earth everywhere. I mean,
it was probably really dull. Most of the time, he was just like looking for clues, reading the signs in the earth and the rocks, and just
that's it.
Sort of sleeping rough.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. I mean, like, the only things that like you could theoretically do is like, all right, cool, he's been out for 10 years. Well, why don't we just have a divergence to Lorien so he can see fucking Arwen and talk with her for a few minutes and have a nice respite in Lothlorien, say hi to Galadriel and all things, but then he'll leave. So that's like 5 minutes or 10 minutes at most of a conversation scene, and then it's back to him being in the wild. And like, what is Gandalf going to be doing there? Because I mean, like, Ian McKellen, said that like he's in it, but he's not going to be like actively with Aragorn for the most part. He's going to be like the overarching kind of like telling Aragorn,
narrator or something like that, which is fine. I mean, if you want to have Ian McKellen narrate something, he can narrate whatever he wants to. He's got a great voice for it, so I'm here for the narration. He can re-narrate the Shawshank Redemption. It would probably be okay.
No, yeah, you definitely could. So,
but this is all kind of stuff that's in the future. But we have a great example in the Lord of the Rings universe already. Beyond the Hobbit.
Yeah, Beyond the Hobbit and Rings of Power.
But a real, true IP grab. War of the Rohirrim.
Yeah, like, that was desperate. Like, they were right about to run out of their IP, and they're like, well, we have to make a movie, so let's make a movie about a character who exists, but does not exist in the way that the movie does, and then decide to throw in a buttload of other, like, political backstabbing that doesn't actually take place for the story in the War of the Rohirrim, and then also add like really I mean, like, the opening scene, if I remember correctly, is Hera climbing up into the mountains to an eyrie and feeds or sees the eagles. Now, first of all, no, men or women, I don't give a shit which one you want to think, are not climbing high enough in the wrong mountain range, by the way, because where Helm's Deep is and where Rohan is and everything is closer to the White Mountains, not the Misty Mountains, and the Misty Mountains are where the eagles have their fucking eyrie. This is 100% known. Any idiot who's ever read anything that Tolkien ever wrote that isn't the Lord of the Rings will know this. So, it makes no sense. She's just kind of like an unlikable character. They do Helm completely dirty. They even have 2 distinctly different animation styles in the film itself, so you're left wondering who the fuck animated what and when and directed it. Yeah, I mean, like, the music, tries to be all Lord of the Rings epicness, but it just completely fails. Just like the whole of it. War of the Ring was just the worst idea, other than to, like, we need something to keep the rights, so we have to make this piece of shit. And you just like, all right, cool, you got a theatrical release of something that should never have been made. Congratulations.
I mean, that sounds just a lot like the animated disappointment that was Babylon 5: The Way Home.
Yeah.
We're not just pigeonholing ourselves into fantasy and Star Trek. Like, B5 is not immune to this either, because the last couple of years, I feel like John Michael Straczynski has sort of allowed his IP to be shrouded in this idea that there's going to be a rebirth or a reboot or a retelling on television of the Babylon 5 story. And leading up to that, they made this animated movie, The Way Home, which has a bunch of things that we personally don't like just in general in storytelling. Chief among them, time travel and alternate timeline shenanigans is just really, really irritating. So that movie is just about that. It's just about Sheridan trying to find his way home through alternate timelines. The real big problem that I have with this is it is a story that literally didn't need to be told. It didn't add anything. And in fact, I think it kind of sucked on just a personal level for me, because all of my favorite characters, the actors are dead. They're dead. They've passed. Like, their voices, especially people like Delenn and Jakar. They have some of the most distinctive voices in Babylon 5, along with like Londo.
Yeah, you cannot replicate Peter Jurassic's accent. Like
we get Veer and Londo and Sheridan and Ivanova, and that's it. Everyone else is a facsimile, and I'm sorry, with all the best will in the world to those voice actors, and I'm sure they put all of their like love and heart and soul into that performance. You just don't sound like Andreas Katsoulis, and you just don't sound like Mira Furlan, and because of those reasons, I can't enjoy the film.
Yeah.
Especially in the context of the entire pointlessness of it, where it's like a sitcom where at the end of the day, everything turns back to the way it was and Sheridan still goes off in the sunset and dies or whatever. Like all these things still happen. The world gets reset and we're still left wanting more because we're missing all the friends that we made along the way while we were watching it.
Yeah, it's just a heartbreaking, tragic film. It's like seeing your grandfather, who you absolutely love, who had such an amazing life. Like, let's just say, fought through World War II, helped do everything possible from 39 to 45, and then went on to have an amazing personal life, a great wife, and then your father was born, and then you were born, shit like that. So you have all these great memories of your grandfather. But then at the very last, right after your grandfather dies, your dad just decides to make an AI version of your grandfather and make a movie about him. And it's just absolutely wrong in all the wrong ways. And it doesn't sound like him. And you're just left heartbroken because this beautiful story, these ideas, these iconic moments that you grew up with are now shattered and wrecked by the knowledge that someone, the creator in this respect, allowed something so awful to happen with all the wrong elements in it. It's just sad.
But on a more uplifting note,
I will now say one reboot that absolutely needs to get here immediately, and if any of you people disagree, go stick your head in a vice and shut up for 5 minutes. Fucking Highlander!
There could be only one. Until we reboot it.
Yeah, until we reboot it. I cannot fucking wait. Henry Cavill playing Duncan MacLeod, Highlander
Please tell me
style.
they're gonna have the Queen theme song to start it.
Oh, yes, please. I know that, the original Highlander is extremely janky. It has a lot.
It's dated.
It's dated as high hell. There are a lot of cliches in it. Even the goddamn camera work at times is really, really, really shoddy. Every time Duncan or any of the immortals executes one of the other ones and gets a lightning strike, it just looks comical, 80s level badness. If I'm just trying to play the first Doom, basically, that's the level of graphical crappiness. But there are really good episodes, and it's a great freaking story. It's one of the more original stories too, about immortals really that are fighting amongst each other for dominance basically of the world, but no one really knows this except a small group of humans who were watching them with a vow to never involve themselves except for a few bastards who decide to really involve themselves and fuck everything up. But and then you get the fun flashbacks, you get the give and pull between the immortal characters who slowly start changing over time. The only one who doesn't change is Duncan MacLeod because he's 100% perfect and righteous and the pinnacle of excellence that you could always aspire to. So Duncan is always right and he's always morally correct and you just have to agree with him no matter what. That gets really fucking old really quickly. I will totally agree. But Highlanders in general, I fucking love that show. I will defend it to the hilt. And I seriously cannot wait for the reboot to come. I really hope it does a good job. If it's like every other reboot in the world, I'm going to be absolutely devastated. It won't be as bad as Rings of Power, but it will be as bad as fucking Ahsoka for Star Wars. So let's just hope that they turn a fucking miracle and Henry Cavill has enough clout and can, bully the director and the writers and shit like that with the way he tried to do it on Witcher to get them back to the original source material. Let's hope he can pull through, pull a Hail Mary, get me fucking, 9 touchdowns and just let me be happy for once. Please, Hollywood, please.
And on that impossible request, the genie says no, the monkey paw curls, and we will see you guys next time.
Sayonara.
I was God once.
Yes, I saw.